Well, welcome everybody. It is Tuesday. Welcome to another episode of Weekly Whiskey. I am super pumped about this one. We have not done this in quite some time, John. Yeah, I mean, I've picked a couple things, but not recently. And
yeah, it's been a minute since we did a nice big blind tasting to go through and dig them out.
Yeah, it has been a long time since we went full send, which I'm super pumped about.
Oh yeah, man! I am really excited about the 142 Glencairns we've got set up here.
Dude, it's insane. My entire glassware here. I don't know if my desk is big enough for this, but before we dive into our crazy schedule for tonight, this is going to be jam packed. I don't know if we have more shit going on in an hour, possibly ever before. So this will be a good one. Let's hit on a couple of quick notes for our bourbon news. We are here tonight picking a Barrell Craft Spirits barrel, which I'm pumped about. Will Schragis, Blake, the whole crew is here, including a guest from the audience, which is super fun. Next week, I truck off to Kentucky, picking up some fun stuff as well. We have Bullet in flight. Our Alleged Craig barrel proof single barrel is scheduled, as is the Four Roses. We have a ton of other stuff coming, but I think we need every minute we got tonight. So what do you say? Should we just dive on into the fun?
Let's do it. I will pull everybody up in here. Say hello to our guests here. We have got Will Schragis from Barrell Craft Spirits. We've got Blake from Bourboner/Sealbox, and our special guest from the audience, Josh Carroll. How is everyone doing?
Wow, you hit on that rapid fire. That was awesome. Oh, it's good to see you guys. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Josh was the lucky winner of the sign up to become a panelist for this. We have quite the panel. Blake, it's so good to see you. Thanks for joining us as well.
As always, thanks for having me.
Blake, long time no see. I feel like I text you sometimes, but I haven't seen your face in a long time.
I was just hoping you'd FaceTime me at some point, but I only get text messages from you now. Good to see you.
I love it. Cool. Well, let's see. We have 7 samples. So our bourbon is picking a Barrell Craft Spirits. I keep saying barrel and bourbon and bourbon and barrel. But and then at the end we'll talk about their new product, Seagrass, which I'm pumped about as well.
So we just gotta fight through 7 cast strength samples to get to the fancy one at the end.
The best part is this is not my first whiskey related event of the evening, so this is gonna be a good time.
Nice.
So 3 samples in, you're just gonna be slurring words and
I'll just be like tapping take over.
This one's on you guys.
John, take the wheel.
So this was really exciting for me because I've been on the show a couple times now. I have an idea of what types of things you guys sometimes like, but also because of how much of a all-star pick this is, I got Nick, our single barrel program manager, and I worked really hard on this lineup of just it being very different and everyone being very cool. We wanted to make sure that it was really difficult to pick. And so I'll talk about it a little bit, but I think there's 7 of them. So if you guys want to just sort of start powering through to get an idea of which ones you're excited about, I'll talk about the program a little bit, and then you guys can just rapid fire questions about them to me if you want. So there are 7 options here across, let's call it 5 categories, 6 if you count different states of bourbon. What is unique about our pick program, our store pick or group pick, is we used to just have a single barrel program, which we're really proud of, but that was a little bit at odds with what we feel we bring to the table as a producer of whiskey, which is making blends that are exciting and greater than the sums of their parts. And so in 2019, starting with rum, but then really 2020, starting with whiskey, we developed what we call the private release program, which are single barrel sized exclusive offerings that are using a barrel, either a secondary maturation or a finishing barrel or a bourbon barrel itself, as the blending cask for a unique blend. And so what we have here are 2 single barrels of bourbon, one from Kentucky and one from Tennessee, and then 2 blends of bourbon, very, very different styles of blends that have, 3 different states, somewhere between 5 and 6 different distilleries, 5 to 15, I think, year-old bourbons in each of them. We have 1 Kentucky whiskey that is a blend of corn whiskey, rye whiskey, bourbon whiskey, all from Kentucky, up to 18 years old, with a very specific finish on it that I'm excited to tell you about, but not going to reveal yet. We have 2 different styles of rye. And so there's really in our private release and single barrel program, we at this point do 3 different states of single barrel bourbon. We do Indiana rye and Canadian rye, and then we do, I think, up to 42 different finishes on whiskey within the private release program. So it's, I think at this point for a single brand under one house, probably the most extensive options for picking of anyone in the country, which is a huge logistics pain for Nick, but really, really fun as someone who gets to represent the brand.
Which
so now
Nick hates it, but yeah.
Yeah, the people who have
know
to do the back of it
Yeah.
hate it, but like, the people who get to sell it love it.
Wow. So now that you've reached the universal number of finishes 42, are you guys capping at 42 now that you get the perfect number? Or are you?
Maybe. It's tough. Every time we do the private release whiskey program in either 72 or 96 offering releases now.
Damn.
And we always try to have 1 or 2 new tricks up our sleeve with each time we do it. And so the series, this is from the DH series, was the last for now of the exclusively Kentucky blends. With the next series after this, it's going to move to an Indiana Kentucky blend of whiskey.
Interesting.
This one that you're tasting is one of the tricks up our sleeves from the DH series. And so I'm curious to see if you guys like that one and talk about it a little bit. But we are fast at work with either conditioning barrels and or tracking down barrels from other producers to add some finishes for the next series as well.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, there's some kooky shit going on in here. I like it. This is fun.
Yeah, so far I'm really excited.
If you buy a barrel, single barrel, or like, whatever the exclusive batch, and don't Google what it is, it's like kind of already like a blind like circus, but this is fun.
At the beginning of this year, we had this initiative to ask people who wanted to do picks with us to do things blind. And we thought it was going to be a little bit of like pulling someone's leg to do it. And pretty much everyone we have asked has been like, absolutely, like, tell me as little as possible. I just want to taste them. And it's been really cool. And I think people are like more attached to the selections they make because they didn't have preconceived notions about what they were picking going in.
Yeah, totally. Which is amazing, by the way. I appreciate that you guys do that. I remember we were on the phone a couple weeks back. I was like laying on my couch because I just like walked out of a meeting, and you're like, can we send these to you blind? And I was like, hell yeah.
Please do.
That's amazing.
And that's kind of the fun part anyway, just because, how many times have you gone into like another distillery? The one that comes to mind for me is like Four Roses, where I say, oh, I don't like, whatever this. And I imagine it's the same thing with, whether it's where you've blended from or what kind of finish it is. It's like, oh, I don't like cab finish stuff. And then, sure enough, you're like, oh, there's Cabernet finished whiskey in here. And so I think that's always the fun part as well, is just because you didn't like one of them doesn't mean you're not going to like all of them. And, a lot of times we get a little jaded by what we read on the bottle as opposed to just what's inside of it. So I think that makes it even more fun.
Yeah. Also, if you have a lineup that has a bunch of categories you're excited about, and then your favorite is the one that you weren't excited about, it must be a great barrel, because people usually, their preconceived notions usually have some basis in like, I didn't like this a bunch of times. And so it's like, it's really fun for us. We don't want to got you anyone, but it's really fun when someone is
a little bit
jazzed about a barrel and then it's not what they wanted.
Yeah. Have you ever had somebody come back and be like, oh, I didn't realize this was in there, I want to change my pick now? Or is that allowed?
Yeah,
or is it like, nope, you gotta
ultimately we want everyone to be happy about the experience with us. And so I'm happy to reveal what things are as early in the process as people want. And sometimes when I know there's a more commercial reasoning for what someone wants, we will say, like, let's pick a couple that we like, and then we'll reveal what they are, and then we'll make the decision that is best for that store or best for that group out of the 2 or 3 that they liked most. I am not, and our company is not a group of whiskey people who believe that age statement means something's better, but we also know that there are certain stores that are going to sell things better with a high age statement. We offer 14-year-old single barrel bourbon. If that's going to sell, we want a store to pick the thing that's going to sell off their shelf. Or, I am a rye drinker at home. Like if I'm making cocktails or drinking American whiskey alone, it's almost always rye. A lot of times I feel I accidentally lead people towards rye barrels when they're tasting both bourbon and rye because I'm so excited about them. But bourbon outsells rye in a lot of price categories in a lot of places. And there's a lot of people who collect bourbon. And so we don't really want to move someone out of a bourbon, even if they, and so to answer your question, like, yeah, we know it's not just about what's your favorite in the moment sometimes. And we want to be respectful of that also.
Okay. Interesting.
Well, we had a question come through here real quick. What's the yield on these on average?
Most of these are going to yield somewhere between 25 and 36 packs.
Okay.
I should have checked this out, but some of the single barrels rather than private releases may be yielding a little bit lower. There's 2 here that I'm a little nervous about based on the category.
We're topping out around 180 bottles, though.
I think the most you're going to get out of this is maybe 32 6-packs. So
Okay.
192 bottles.
Okay. It's not like every now and then you pick a new riff and it's got that asterisk and you're afraid to see that it's like 71 bottles yield. And you're like,
So that happens to us a lot. And there's the woman who manages the Northeast for us, name is Eva, and she is so she's just so available and helpful to all of the accounts that she works with. And she just had this run where every short yield barrel was in her territory. It was like, there must've been like 10 of them in a row.
oh shit.
And it got to be like a joke that Nick would send an email, be like, guess what, everyone? Like Eva with a 6-case yield barrel.
Come on down, get your
The micro barrel.
So, and we had a barrel that we all really loved, and it was like a 22 bottle yield. And we decided we named it Eva's Ghost. And it's one of 2 secret barrels that are around right now. They're both Canadian rye barrels that we peppered into stores in different places because we liked them. One's called Eva's Ghost and one's called the Trapezoid. And they're just like there for people to find. They're not like, we don't make a big thing out of it. And they're not where you'd expect them.
And if somebody finds one of those, please reach out to me and let me know. I would love to get my paws on them.
I'm not sure if there's any Eva's Ghost left, but I can check. There was so little of it. I feel like the minute someone found it, they texted everyone else to buy it. But
yeah, scoop it right out. I've got a pretty good jump on some of these already here. If we want to start kind of paring them down a little bit, I don't know if you guys have nosed through them enough, or if Blake even knows what samples he's supposed to be drinking tonight. Did you guys get Blake started?
No,
I
don't have the samples, but I just wanted to jump in, and I'm still drinking, so
I love it.
Perfect.
You're our guy.
Put me in, coach. You're in a good spot.
Jay's still drinking out of his travel decanter from Age to Nor, by the way.
Yeah. This is like the best water bottle I can't knock over.
I wanted to answer Spirits Surveyor. All of our single barrels and private releases are exactly the same price per bottle, no matter what. And so someone asked about the pricing on these, and these will be the same.
Okay.
Occasionally we see at retail them come out at different prices, but our price to people is always the same.
Okay. I mean, sometimes we especially in like Brandy land, it's like this one's fantastic and it's $900, and this one's also good and it's $111. So
right.
Thank God bourbon's not quite the same. Yeah, I think I've gone through these. How about you, Josh? Have you gotten some time with each of these?
Yeah, I've gone through the first 3.
Cool. John, why don't you kick us off? What do you like, not like? What's thing to do?
I'm kicking out Z1H6 and V602 right off the top. That's where I'm starting to trim it down.
Okay.
Interesting.
I booted out V602 myself. What are your thoughts, Josh?
Z1H6, yeah, that I didn't care for that too much. It was a little.
That was one of my favorites.
I like that one too.
Cool fruity thing on the nose, but maybe I should try it not right next to Z1H5. But H5, man, it just jumped right out at me. It went right to the top of the pile. So and that's where it still is.
I liked H5 too, so I'd be happy dropping 6 in favor of 5.
Yeah,
even though I did really like 6.
I thought 6 had a really cool, like super tropical fun nose. Was it 6? I think it was. Yeah, but then there's a lot of the there's a component in there that I categorically don't jump toward, and so without saying what's going on in there, I'm just gonna say that that one doesn't hit me quite the right way.
Okay.
So V602 is out and Z1H6 out. Are we in agreement? Okay. Okay, that makes it a little smaller.
Josh, did you just mix all of your samples together in one glass?
I did.
Okay.
Put them all in one glass. They're great.
That is perfect.
We're doing the mega batch.
Yeah.
The mega
we're-
private select. I
Blend,
like
right?
it. Yeah.
The blend of blends.
700 cases yield. Let's go.
I'll take it.
Yeah, so I
Yes.
brought two Glencairns with me, and I have one whiskey glass that's fairly normal. The rest of these are like makeshift mountain
Okay.
cabin
I
You
love
could do
it.
flowers.
specials. Yeah, I might as well be drinking out of plastic
dig
cups.
So
I kind of like this. We built a little bit of a bracket for ourselves, I feel like, because we had
yeah.
2 in a lot of the categories.
So let's let Josh kick out the next sample or two here, peel off his list, and we'll kind of go from there. So that way I'm not just telling you guys which ones we're not going to get because I'm being bossy.
So that leaves what? DHP3,
Yeah.
M753.
Will, while
The two
they're
Bs.
doing that, I've got a question for you. So when y'all are doing these blends, I mean, are you blending to a specific thing, or you just got a bunch of barrels in front of you and it's like, hey, I wonder if this would be good with it, and starting to weed it out there and saying, okay, this was great together? Because I imagine the hard part is when you're doing these blends, you have like a few hundred barrels that are kind of locked up until people come and pick their blend. And so kind of what's the process on that look like?
Yeah, the private release series is a really different experience in blending than putting our batches of bourbon together. Because with a batch of bourbon, a lot of times we're either dumping a base of barrels that are pretty similar to each other and then folding in barrels that are very different for complexity, or we're blending sub-ingredients of very different barrels so that we have like 3 or 4 or 5 what we call points in a 5-point method, where they're all like creating a tension between each other. With the private release bourbon, because we know we're going to be making 24 or 48 or 72 or 96 variations, we have to get to the point where we have a lot of things that play really nicely with each other in almost any variable. And so it's not so much about building tension between 5 ingredients. It's about finding a family of bourbons that really taste good together, and then like putting them together in a bunch of different ways, and then tweaking every one to make sure it's the way that we want. And so it's actually like a very different. It's a different way of looking at it from the beginning, because the idea is to have 96 different things instead of like one perfect thing.
That's interesting.
Jay, do we want to reveal the barrels that we kick out as we go, or do you want to do it all at the end?
Well, so we still have one Z in. I think if we want to reveal what V was, I think that's fine. But let's not reveal the partner numbers until both of them have been kicked out.
V602 is a 14-year-old Canadian rye.
Okay.
What is interesting about V602, it's 127 proof. I'm glad you guys didn't pick that one because it only yielded 11 cases.
Ooh. Yeah, it just came through a little bit thin for me.
What is interesting about that one is even though it is labeled as a 14-year-old, it is actually 16 years old.
Oh, cool.
It was a barrel that was a set of barrels that we got a bunch of different ages, and so it found itself in our 14-year-old barrel pool, even though it's older.
Interesting.
And so now that I've said it's only 11 cases and it's 16 years old, I suspect I will get an email from someone about that barrel.
She gone.
Actually,
I didn't do that on purpose, but
check your text messages really quick. And I'm just kidding. I know I'm on this live stream, but
that's funny. Okay. Interesting. All right. So let's see. The one that I tried, I'm actually looking forward to getting back to this one. M573, that was interesting, but maybe not quite up to snuff. Yeah, I see Blake texting off screen.
It has a nice nose, but
yeah, M73 is cool. Interesting.
It has this it's like kind of dank and funky like evergreen to it.
Yeah, the piney type of
cedar,
sweet, woody something going on that I like. I'm surprised that you dig it because instantly for me, I was like, oh, this is like piney and fun. And I was like, oh,
no,
Jay's going to hate this.
This was my, like, I'm really not sure about this one.
Oh, okay.
I'm really not sure about it.
I'm glad you said evergreen.
I would have typecasted you for liking that, Jay.
It has like this like cedar melon note that I don't not like, but is super strange. That almost kind of reminds me of like a Lysol cleaner. Like, not that I like,
good back of house word.
Not that I like drink that or anything, but like, I'm sure someone out there thinks that I like drink bleach, but
like it's not the name brand bleach; it's more of a knockoff bleach.
Yeah, generic Acme bleach.
Yeah, great value for sure.
You have to feel all the feels in this business, right?
Yeah, you got to feel what everything is. And so, I mean, on this, Jay, do you find yourself leaning more towards like the sweeter cinnamon, kind of more classic bourbon? You know, because I'm kind of with Will. I thought you'd enjoy like the pineier notes and that kind of stuff, given your other spirits that you love.
Yeah. So I'm definitely not like towards like a very standard profile here. This one just like has a weird woodiness that kind of equates to funk. Like DHP3 has like so much character that's also kind of funky and woody, but seems a little more integrated.
Yeah, it's more tame.
And like it has like a fun like citrus pop without kind of that dank wood note to it. So,
what I think is just listening to what you're saying about the sort of piney barrels and then the sort of fatter, butterier style of bourbon and some rye too, that has struck me with a lot of the blends that have come out of Barrell. And I get to say us a lot, but I'm not based in Kentucky, so it's really Joe and Nick and Tripp putting the blends together right now. The ability to have something that's like very sharp at the beginning and then has a like fat buttery note at some point in the mid palate and then finishes clean again, like that, they have polished that skill in the past 18 months or so with some of our releases in a way where I feel like I always thought of, before I worked for Barrell, but even at the beginning of Barrell, bourbon as this like simply opulent category of like, it's just delicious and like, don't think too hard.
Yeah.
And some of the blends that they've been putting together are like, these are really complex spirits. They like evolve on your palate and show you different things at different times in a way that like I always thought of as more of a like a single malt style of blending or like a really, really old brandy style of like evolving on the palate.
Sure.
And I think part of it is just like every year we have more and more sources, we have more and more ages to blend from. We separate barrels into different places while they're maturing. So things that started the same get more and more different as they get older. And I just feel like the three of them in what they've done, batches like 25, 26, 27, 28, with Seagrass coming out, with Armida coming out last year, the ability to like have it be both things at the same time is so impressive to me. And like, I get to pretend to be part of it, but really I just get to talk about it.
No, that's cool. I like that.
Works out great.
I'm ready to eat my tongue here though. So I love the nose on DHP3, but the palate on M753 is way better.
Mm-hmm.
So like M753 just has like kind of a funky nose, but the palate is way better in my opinion.
Yeah, it's really full. Whereas I think DHP3 is also tasty, but side by side with M753, it does not hold up quite as well.
Yeah. What do you think, Josh?
DHP3 was probably going to be my kick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
We good to boot that guy?
One as well. Yeah.
Okay. I'm good with that. Yeah. The nose on M753 is like funky and cedary, but the palate is completely different and in a really enticing kind of way.
So, do you want to?
You guys mind if I reveal DHP3?
Yeah, please do.
So this is from the private release whiskey program. This is one of the producer identified finishes, which we normally don't do as exclusive picks. But Jay, I know that you are a fan of small, cool producers doing little things. Yeah. So this is a Kentucky whiskey blend that was finished in a Harvest Spirits Rare Pear Brandy from Hudson, New York.
Okay.
Harvest Spirits is we work with them for our vatted malt as well.
Sure.
There's a man named Derek Grout who's the owner and distiller there, and the whole story behind Hudson Baby Bourbon of like trying to find a way to save the farm kind of thing. Like that is actually the story of Harvest Spirits, that it is his family's farm and they started making apple brandy to do things with the fallen apples.
Okay.
And they make this beautiful pear brandy they call rare pear brandy. It's a pear eau de vie that I think they use Woodford Reserve casks for.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And so we work with them to source pear eau de vie for us to age and then use those barrels to finish Armida in. They're one of our, I think it's 7 farm distillate sources for that. But then we also took some of their pear brandy barrels and put our whiskey blends in it directly.
Interesting. Okay.
And this was one of them.
That probably explains that like nice fresh stone fruit pop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's so fragrant on the note, because it has like sort of young pear brandy finish.
Interesting. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
It comes through nicely, but it just doesn't hold up on the palate compared to the other ones here.
It certainly isn't as big as the other ones on the palate.
Yeah.
All right. So
I'm
that leads
kind
us
of-
to the final four. Final four.
Yeah, I'm
It
kind
does
of
make
down
it
to-
interesting. Will, do you find that when people are tasting these things and they don't understand, like, it is pear brandy finish, it's like when you go back to it, it's like, oh, these notes make more sense now. And that's kind of the fun part about doing it blind, is because, you know, when you don't know, it's just like, is it better than the others? Nope. Okay, let's kick it out. But when you go back to it, it's like, oh, okay, I understand the stone fruit and I understand some of these other notes that I'm getting now.
What I think is really cool about tasting different finishes is when it is a spirits finish, when it's like Armagnac finish, Cognac finish, we actually do a lot of Indiana rye finishes on other things, which Indiana rye is like, it doesn't feel sexy to us in America because it's here, but like Indiana rye is like one of the most classic, well-respected categories of spirits. It finishes things so well. Those things, they're generally, in terms of acid and sugar and alcohol by volume, pretty similar to the whiskey you're putting into it. And so what they bring is often in the nose or in the, like, they tweak the flavor profile a little bit, but they don't change the structure of the spirit that much.
Got it.
Fermented finishes, so like fortified wine finishes or beer finishes, or like, especially like vin de liqueur finishes, so like Pinot de Charente or Ratafia de Champagne, or like some of the sweeter sherries. They just change the acid and sugar structure of the thing that you're drinking so much that even if the whiskey is the same, if it goes into 2 different spirits, the nose might change a little bit differently. But if it goes into 2 different fortified wines, or a wine and a spirit, the entire structure of the way you experience it changes, which is really cool. It's like, it's a different way of tweaking it. And it tweaks different things that you notice about it.
That's interesting.
It's interesting too for me because usually when I try samples from places like maybe like New Riff, or say, like, you get different profiles, but like, you know, when you find those like kind of exotic notes that are interesting or different or fun, you know, you just think of like, okay, what minute variability could have caused this? Like tasting this stuff, like getting any crazy note, like, is totally doesn't feel that weird, because like we had no idea, like, we know you guys finish in like all the craziest stuff. So like getting some weird, crazy sample that drinks really funky and funny doesn't feel like that's startling or strange, because like, who knows, like what the hell, like you guys did to the barrel, the
Could be
blend,
anything.
like it's like Pandora's box just over and over and over, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Although it seems like you guys narrowed it down to probably the 4 most classic options.
That checks out. Especially with what I just
categories
tasted.
are classic for a reason, you know?
Yeah. It's funny because I just drank the one that I think I like the best. I was like, man, this is a really classic profile, but it's just so good. So that probably affirms my fear there.
I'll tell you guys, I'm down to Z1H5 and BO2K.
Rock on. Okay.
I kicked out BO2K,
Okay.
but I am all in on Z1H5. That's my favorite by far.
Those are my 2. Yeah, I really
CO2K and Z1H5?
Yeah, those are my final 2. And the one I really like that I was just talking about is one of those 2. Wow,
It's going to
that's
be
also-
BO2K because that's the only one that's classic between the 2 there.
oh, wow.
Those are the 2 most similar in terms of what's actually in them of anything.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I can't wait to find out what the finish is on Z1H5.
Yes.
No finish on that.
Oh, no kidding.
Mm.
Wow.
That is just a really, really fragrant barrel of bourbon.
That is very wild.
That surprises me.
Dude, my first sip of this thing, and I was just like, holy shit, this is like an apple cinnamon pie bombshell.
I love doing these like really long, extensive tastings also because I love both of these options, and you guys are going to pick one, and the other one, I get to be one of my favorites, and I get to pick who else sees it. So I feel like I learn a lot about what we have available just from doing these tastings with people. Everyone in our company has like barrels and private releases that are there. Like they're not allowed to save them, but we are like beer mark them for the people that we really like. And it's actually interesting, Jay, and I guess Jay, I've talked to you about it the most, but Blake, I'm sure this happens to you all the time. And John, I know you're involved in single barrel picks too. Some of the best barrels get selected without being picked because someone from a brand knows what someone that they're friends with is looking for.
Yeah.
And you just like get the call of like, I've got this one and it's great. Do you trust me? Or like, do you want to try it and say yes or no? And it's not like a classic pick situation. And we have found that there's a couple of stores around the country now that they'll say like, next time you're doing single barrels, can Joe just pick us one? Or can Nick just pick us one? Or can Tripp just pick us one? Or like,
interesting.
Rather than waiting for a set, they're like, as soon as you find one you want that you think is great, like, can you send that? And those people often get more interesting barrels because when someone who works for a company tries something and is blown away by it, if they know they have a buyer, they just pull it out.
Oh yeah.
It's not always that way, but I think there's this interesting networking into just like, if you know the people at the company, they will cheat for you a little bit. Yeah. You just don't get the like fun of picking it yourself.
Which I get to, like some stores where they're doing like just a bajillion picks, like, you know.
Right. Well, I think it's kind of, you got to know, and it goes down to, even if they did send out samples to a store, but you got to know who's tasting, you got to know their palate. So it's like, you know, if I trust the person at the store who's tasting it, then I'll buy a bottle. But you know, even more like if Will, Joe, or Tripp are tasting it, like, and they said, hey, we've got one we think you'll love, I'd take that every day, you know, because like you said, it usually is something good. Now, I won't say that about all distilleries. If, you know, it says, hey, we just picked you the best one and it got it. That's not always the case. But I would agree that especially with Barrell, you know, I think we've had some in the past where it's like, I think I got something you'd like. And it's like, yep, let's do it. That sounds good.
Yeah, send it.
Also, like you only get to do that to someone once if you're not good at making the selection for them. And so we're very careful about the moments we do it, but I know everyone in our company does it because we get like territorial about the things that we like most from our options.
Hold on a second. Yeah, you can't be sending my barrels out.
I love it. So, all right, we have two finalists here. I'm curious, maybe we won't go too crazy with it, but I'm curious, like to give a couple notes on what you like or don't like about it, and we'll pare down which one's the winner. But John, maybe you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so I'll dive in. My vote here is Z1H5. I thought BO2K was just kind of, I mean, it was fine, but it was a little bit pedestrian, especially compared to Z1H5. That one kind of lit up for me. A ton of fruit on the nose. I actually finished my whole sample of it here. A lot of fruit going on, and then the finish is just like this crazy long apple butter, cinnamon, a little bit of pear peel, like very, very rich and pretty luxurious on the palate too. And while it doesn't strike me as being crazy old, it's got good structure overall. And man, something about that long, spicy cinnamon finish was really, I dig it.
I love how John sets up his pick. He's like, well, you know, this one was pretty good and you're pretty pedestrian and you're an idiot if you're going to choose this sample. But let me tell you about it.
Let me tell you why you're an idiot.
Yeah.
I think also, John, in the Z1 series, which it's interesting because it wasn't named for a specific set of barrels. The Z1 series is single barrels that we pulled out of the blending scheme from batches 24, 25, 26, 27. So anything that was an ingredient in any of those batches was sets of barrels that might have become the Z1 series of single barrels.
Interesting.
But this particular subset of them has that, like, I get it as it smells like Red Hots to me, like just intense cinnamon.
Interesting.
Not the whole thing, but like there's a note of that.
Yeah.
I'm really I'm just so impressed at how on top of every little detail of these are. Like I'm actually picturing like the gigantic whiteboard you have that's like next to and above and over,
or like the Excel
the
spreadsheet.
camera.
Yeah.
This is impressive, which is fun.
Maybe in the post interview conversation, I can share my screen with the spreadsheet of how we keep track of all the single barrel samples, because
that must be
painful.
I'm picturing like a spreadsheet like on a projector, like blown up on your wall, like just like quick scrolling, like. But that's crazy.
And there's so much information in it. It's like when it's scheduled to bottle, when it's going to be bottled, if people have selected it, if they haven't selected it, what they want on the label, the yield, the cola number, like all of that in one giant spreadsheet with hundreds and hundreds of options in it.
Damn.
Yeah. Nick manages it, and it's impressive. And it's the livelihood of our company lives to some extent in the details of that spreadsheet.
Man, I love a good spreadsheet. That's what
he does. Love spreadsheet. It's true. So I guess I'm hanging my hat on Z1H5. If you guys are gonna go toward the other one, that's fine too. I mean, I'm curious in them all.
Tell me, Josh, what do you like?
Yeah, Z1H5. It's there's like one. It's in your face as soon as you smell it. You know, there's something there. And then when you taste it, it really hits you. I get the cinnamon, the maybe apple pear, but the finish is long. It's complex, and it's got a little bite at the end, which I like.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, I'm in agreement. I thought BO2K was nice. I won't say you're an idiot if you like it, but Z1H5, you know, we'll keep things friendly and open.
I didn't say that either.
I also feel like it.
Good.
I cleaned my palate with some water, and DHP3 was pretty good too. So I would probably take DHP3 over BO2K. But
okay.
M753.
Z1H5 still my favorite.
All right. Sorry, what were you saying, Will?
So BO2K is one of the private release blends.
Okay.
And I think the difference between the two really speaks to single barrel bourbon versus like carefully blended bourbon, where BO2K is not a loud whiskey. It's a like really viscous, balanced whiskey.
Sure.
And Z1H5 is extremely loud. It's like I think one of the things that made single barrel bourbon increasingly popular in the past, 5-10 years is the power with which good single barrels just like tell you what they're about, because they're so extremely one thing. It's also why single barrel bourbon is so good at cask strength. It's just so much itself. And BO2K is a blend of 5 to 16-year-old bourbons. There's, I think, 6 different ingredients in it. And I really like it as like a very elegant blend, but I agree, like Z1H5 is like, it punched hard and it landed in this tasting, you know?
Cool.
I feel like there will be people or days that it doesn't land the same way, but like right now I agree. Like that's what I want to drink for the rest of the night.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, this is my pick as well. It has that big apple cinnamon, kind of brown butter, toffee, light cinnamon. I'm like really sensitive to cinnamon, especially in like Old Weller antique. So I didn't get that big red hot note, which I'm happy about, because that probably would have been a write off for me. But this, it drinks like dessert. It's loud. It's not like hot, but it's really rich and powerful and boisterous.
Yeah, there's that
assertive,
real nice toffee caramel, like caramelized butter type of deal. There's a good thing going on in that. Will, did you reveal M753? Can we talk about that one?
Yeah.
M753 is a 7-year-old, also at cask strength, Indiana rye.
Is it
it's
Indiana?
A 95.5 mash bill.
It's nice.
That checks
out.
I
like that one quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was John. You're not as easy to typecast. I thought that was gonna be Jay's pick.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, but now I know. I thought you were gonna be all about like the pine, and you're not.
Pine, it's just so close to some of the woodier craft spirits that I've had that I don't think are quite ready. And I think that's like a knee-jerk reaction for me.
I could see that.
I get that.
Okay, so let's talk about. So we talked a little bit about BO2K. What's the deets on the winner here?
Are we ready to reveal it?
Yeah, I think
I'm surprised that John doesn't have like a reveal graphic or something like that.
I could probably throw something together real quick, like a nice heavenly logo reveal.
Z1H5 is one of only a few 5-year-old Kentucky bourbon barrels that we pulled out from one of the 5-year-old blends that we did, that we just felt it had too much nuance to go into a blend.
Amazing.
It was like earmarked from the very beginning to be like a single barrel. And so I obviously can't reveal what distillery it's from, but it's 120 proof, which is pretty low for this distillery.
Okay.
Most of its siblings were a little higher. And the yield is actually it's 32 cases plus a couple bottles. So it's like 196, I think, is the bottle count.
Really
wow.
helpful.
But it's a 5-year-old, which I think is cool. It does not read to me. I thought it was going to be either a 7 or a 9-year-old until I looked it up.
So I drank this thinking it was 8-year in like an Armagnac cask.
I thought it was like an Amaro cask or something. I was like, my first sip, I was like, holy shit, is this like Calvados or something? What is the finish here? And then I came back to it after I tasted everything. I was like, I don't know, it's a little bit wilder. Like maybe it's an Amaro cask. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I like it. And it's just got this fatty background to it that I really dig.
I also think what's cool about the 5-year-old Kentuckys, there's only a couple of them in the single barrel program, but I've been with the company for about 5 years, and a lot of those barrels we've owned for a long time. And so it's like things that we didn't even think about using when I started with the company. Like it's not like they're starting to come into fruition. It's like, oh, we were sitting on this for a long time and it's ready. I see people already trying to guess in the chat what it is, and it's like they might be right, they might be wrong. But this one to me, like it's so fragrant, which I think is cool.
I love it.
It's hard to narrow down this mash bill.
Yeah, is it? It has some rye in it though, doesn't it?
I'm sure there's rye in it. To be totally honest, I don't know the mash bill, but
Danger Will Robinson.
Will's got a good poker face. We can leave it at that, I think. But I think that's the really cool part about the blind tasting as well, as not only do you not know the finish, but I don't think anybody in just kind of listening to everyone's tasting notes, I don't think anybody would have put it in the 5-year range, or especially not unfinished. Y'all are all describing more complex flavors and a lot of depth and just a ton of flavor. And listening, I'm thinking it's going to be like something like a brandy finish or something that adds a lot of fruitiness and all this. And so that's really cool to hear that it's just 5-year-old unfinished bourbon.
It's a straight bourbon. Yeah.
Damn, it's good.
I would not have pegged it for being unfinished.
And I also feel like the 120 proof level is like it's not a monster. It's just like a good cast strength barrel. Yeah,
it doesn't rip your face off. Doesn't go through super hot.
It drinks so well for 60%. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we have a barrel. That's super exciting. I'm pumped about that.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks for doing the gargantuan amount of work to facilitate a 7 sample across 4 people blind tasting.
Yeah.
Please, thank you guys so much for doing it. I know this is a crazy thing to do, but I'm so excited about our newest release from Barrell, and I know we only have we have like 15 minutes left. You guys mind moving to sample number 8?
Yeah, let's get some sea and let's get some grass.
Let's do it. Hey, did you reveal Z1H6? Did we do that one when I was nosing through the other?
Z1H6 is a 10-year-old high rye Tennessee bourbon.
Okay, that checks
Jay,
out.
You know now why I passed that one up, right?
Yeah, that was like one of your first too. You can. Your nose is pretty good on those.
I'm super sensitive to those for whatever reason.
It's gonna be my life's work to trick you now.
Oh, do it!
I'm good with that.
I rode the day. I think it'll be amazing.
I love getting tricked.
So we're pivoting a little bit. Awesome barrel. I'm actually really pumped. I think 5-year Kentucky that drank that well is incredibly exciting. And I can't wait to share that with people. But we also Barrell just released from the Skunkworks Seagrass. So tell us a little bit about that, Will.
So here I got the bottle right here. Oh,
Whoa,
What's
green
going on
screen.
with the green screen? I don't even have a green screen up. What's going on? Weird.
Is
We're
it
getting a good cat reflection there, though.
Yeah,
That is so strange.
That's
that
funny.
is so strange. So Seagrass is the newest and we think last of our. We call it our core now, but it is a blend of 3 different sub blends that we make, each with their own finish. Dovetail was the first, and Dovetail is like very much an American whiskey, even though there's some bourbon used in it. And then Armida was the second, which all of the ingredients of Armida start as bourbon. Seagrass, all of the ingredients start as rye. And so technically in like American whiskey law or whatever, it's a rye or a rye finished in. It's just a lot more complicated than anyone else has really put into that category. And so we just sort of think of it as Seagrass whiskey, even though it's classified as a rye.
Okay.
And so it is a blend of 3 different components that we do totally separately to start. It's Canadian rye finished in apricot brandy casks, and Indiana rye finished in, I want to make sure I get this right, Malmsey Madeira barrels.
Okay.
And then a blend of 3 different states, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee rye finished in rum agricole or Martinique rum casks.
Awesome.
So we sort of blend all of those, not to be finished products, but to like punch as much of their identity into something. And then we make a balance or a tension blend between those 3.
Okay. Very cool. I mean, it's cool to see Martinique showing its face here. I love Martinique rum.
The idea behind it was to have it be unique and exotic and like unlike anything else in the whiskey world on the nose and a little bit on the front palate, to make it like you can't even tell what it is, and then have it finish like a rye.
Yeah.
So people really like the sort of tropical overripe notes of rye, and we wanted to like just lean into that so much more than anyone ever had before.
It does exactly that.
This is fun.
Yeah. There's a ton of fruit going on there, like fruity pebbles type of Fruit Loops, kind of like real bright fruit right up front.
It's so weird. That bottle even still now looks like it has a hole in it. That's crazy.
It's crazy.
But yeah, I think my favorite part of this is like the back palate finish. This has so much like rum.
Yeah, it keeps that spice.
A little bit of the apricot and like the spice and brown sugar. I was kind of worried that the Martinique was just gonna pave over everything, because like Martinique rum is not understated usually ever, but this plays very nicely.
Yeah, I feel like if you know all of the finishing casks and the ingredients, they all find their place.
Yeah,
on the palate somewhere.
I think the Madeira is kind of a little less prominent than I expected it to be, but I think that's a good thing. I'm surprised that I don't get quite as much Madeira.
Yeah, I feel like the Madeira, the oxidative quality of it and the like acid sugar balance of it comes out, but the grapiness of Madeira isn't there so much.
Yeah, which I think is perfect. I was worried that this was going to be an extremely grapey rye with like a little bit of weird grassy funk on the finish, and that was going to be it. But
yeah, the name had me thinking that, like, in my mind, that this was going to end up coming through as like that big grassy type of rye, which, I mean, I'm on board with. I like that. But at the same time, it doesn't, like, nobody's really driving here. You know what I mean? Like, the bus is full, but everybody's kind of sharing their seats, right?
Yeah,
it's very well balanced. Especially, I'm not a big fan of cask finished whiskeys, but this is good, and it's very well balanced.
Thank you so much.
And, yeah,
You get a good trifecta here with Dovetail, Armida, and Seagrass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I in my head call it the Rubik's Cube, the 3 of them together, because it's like 3 whiskeys with 3 finishes. It hasn't caught on yet, but one of these days.
I like that marketing. I'm on board.
Okay, no, I like it. Well, I can't wait for Barrel Rubrics to drop in 2022.
Yep,
it's coming. I can see it.
I mean, that apricot comes out just right.
Is so exciting to me about it, and really the whole program, the Dovetail, Seagrass, Armida, all of them, is that if you wanted to list it out, there's so much that goes into not only the whiskey, but every component of the whiskey. But then they're pretty restrained in terms of what they could be if you read it on paper. There's still whiskey is respecting what whiskey is. Mm-hmm. And I, as we were releasing these, I was like reading all message boards and stuff, and people were like, trying too hard or whatever. And my response was like, we tried so hard. You have no idea how hard we tried for this. Like we worked so much to make this as loud as it could be, given the finishes, while still being in balance and like respecting what rye whiskey is.
I love that. It's fun too. I don't understand when try hard became an insult. Like, we make fun of people that we think are lazy in the whiskey industry every goddamn day. Like, when did try hard become like a bad thing?
These sons of bitches are trying so hard to make it
we
taste good.
We spent months polishing things just to mix them together. Like every one of these every ingredient was developed to be an ingredient, and so we had to like make sure we got it right, only so that it could be a tool to get the last thing right.
How dare you?
Yeah, but I'm really excited about it, and it's becoming available like tomorrow. I think it's available for pre-order right now, but I'm pretty sure it's hitting markets
Is it on
tomorrow.
Mash and Grape?
I'm not sure if it's on Mash and Grape, but it's on our website.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought your website linked to Mash and Grape. That's my fault.
No, it goes through Bar Cart.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's exciting. I mean, also too, like, I don't know, it's just fun. Like the colors. So I used to work at a ski area for many years. And these like two pastel, like blue green, always remind me of spring skiing when everyone dons like just like the craziest shit they have for like the last 2 weeks of skiing. Then this like it kind of drinks like we threw everything at the wall, and this is like what we got, and I love it. I think it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, along that same vein, the way I think about rye usually is come hunting season, like in the fall when that weather finally clicks over from being humid and warm to you get that crisp, cool air. It's like, okay, it's rye season. But this, like, while it still drinks like rye, has a ton of crazy fruit and super, just like a really good depth of flavor to it that makes me think like I could throw a straw in this bottle and sit on the beach with it, man. Like this is like somehow summertime rye.
When you stop replying to Discord messages, I'll know exactly where you are and what you're doing.
Yes, you will. You'll be like, did you do it? Did you put the straw in the bottle?
We have these chats as a team where it'll be like after 5 o'clock, and it's like optional, but we'll have a Zoom just for people to talk about whiskey, our whiskeys, other whiskeys, whatever it is. And we were talking pretty recently about how like seagrass in tiki cocktails and like seagrass in like whiskey soda or like a sour, like seagrass sours, things like that.
Totally.
There's so many places and people who want to drink whiskey, but they drink it in like settings that are not really whiskey settings. And we didn't design this for that, but it just fits really well for those things. I'm really excited to like have it on crushed ice this summer kind of thing.
Okay.
Man.
I can see it.
With like a lemon peel or something. Or like an egg white drink with it, because I feel like it'll match. It's not too oaky. It'll like match that pretty well.
Yeah, I bet. That's cool. Well, I appreciate you sharing it with us. It was kind of fun to like go hard in the paint, pick a barrel, and then like kick back with some seagrass.
Yeah, that's what we would say, kickback whiskey.
That should be on the label.
I was going to say, I feel like there's so many taglines in here right now. Is anybody just writing all of these down? Seagrass, kickback whiskey. Yeah. Seagrass, you want to put a straw in the bottle.
You should put a straw in the bottle, though. It's good.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, this is fun stuff. I'm
glad
impressed.
you guys like it. I was I know that you're nice and you wouldn't say anything bad when I'm here as an interview, but it really does mean a lot to us when you guys like our products. And so I'm glad you like it, because you're some of the first people to try it outside of the company.
Cool. I mean, I think it's cool. I mean, if we didn't like it, we would have spent it like 30 seconds and wrapped early, but no, we've been like, wow, that was a great time. Now,
good. Thanks for the guidance.
8:45, time to go. BRB. But that's fun. I mean, I think it's interesting too, because like Armida hit me weird at first, and it took a long time to warm up to it and just be like, yes, this is, it is what it is. But this one hits me much like Dovetail did, where I had Dovetail and I was like, yep, like I like that. And then it continues to evolve. But like Armida, I drank at first and was like, oh, like, I don't know. And I, came back over a couple of sessions and realized, it opened up very nicely. But Seagrass drinks really
But also, we make loud whiskeys. And so if someone were to say to me, like, I like everything that Barrell has ever released, my response to them would be like, you just like whiskey.
Yeah. Right. You like to drink, sir.
You like whiskey. You like whiskey. It's fine. The things we most like to hear from people are like, I tried all your whiskeys. I respect you. These are my two favorites. Or like, I really like this one. I didn't like that one as much. Because to us, that means that everyone has its own identity. And if someone's a really serious whiskey drinker, they have things they like and don't like for specific reasons. It's never offensive to us if someone says like, we respect you. This is not my favorite. To say that you love Dovetail and you like this and you don't like Armida, like that's music to my ears in a nerd way.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, we are rolling up on the top of the hour. I'm actually really amazed. I thought it'd be like 9:30 local time when we would finally like kind of like cruise out of this.
You guys did a good job kicking out the ones you didn't like.
Damn, I love efficiency. But so for everybody, before we kind of close out, Blake, thanks for joining us tonight. This is an Our Bourbon selection. It will go through Sealbox, which is super exciting. So look out for that. We'll pull the strings behind the curtain and get that going. So it was really great to have you. It's kind of fun. It's like we don't always. I think it's been a while since I've seen you face to face too, besides Craft Corner. So it's always nice to get everybody in the same room. Josh, thank you for joining as well. Josh was picked. We had a slot. We'll be doing more of this as we do other selections that have room. So look out for the emails. But Josh, it was awesome to have you. Thanks so much for joining.
Hey, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
thank you, Will.
Josh. Great to meet you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll keep it going. We've got some more stuff up our sleeve. But Will, so if people are looking for more information on Barrell, where can they find you?
So
nice.
barrelbourbon.com, of course, and then all of our tags are just Barrel Bourbon at whatever different Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok now as well.
Oh, sure.
You can email us, contact@barrelbourbon.com. We are a very small team. Barrel is available all over the country and in a lot of parts of the world, but we are still like a 25-person company, and there's like 4 of us that look at the contact emails. And so if you send an email, like you might get an answer from me, like if it's something that I'm the right person to answer. So if you have any questions about the company, any questions about where to find things, any questions about how things are made, please reach out. We love talking to people about what we're doing. And of course, reach out to us on all the social media platforms as well.
Cool. Well, thank you again. It's always great when you actually have someone from the brand here. And I appreciate you talking through every one of these zany Codex samples. That was definitely, it would have been crazy otherwise. So yeah, Sealbox tags are there as well. So if you're looking to check out Sealbox on social media or the website, they have a lot of great stuff online. Our pick will be up there soon. If you're looking for more from John, he's at the Bourbon Finder all across the internet. And I am Jay from Whiskey Raiders. But thank you guys for sticking tight for a whole hour. I don't know about you guys, but I need a glass of water. This was good. It's getting a little toasty in here. Yeah. But this has been great fun. It's been a long time since we've had 5 people jamming in StreamYard. So this was huge fun. Thank you guys again. And I'm gonna grab the last glass I have, which is some Seagrass. But cheers, guys. This was a blast.
Cheers.
Cheers, fellas.